can I just ask you to start with to give me a little personal introduction for anyone listening? Where are you from? What do you do? That kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. I'm Sam. I go by SJ Helps on TikTok. I'm from Northeast London and I'm a life coach as well as balancing a 9 to 5 and the rest.
Whole host of things.
How was the things?
So why did you decide to start sharing life advice on social media? Because I really wanted to get you on this podcast because I saw your TikToks and I saw the messages you were putting out, and they really resonated with me, and I think you deliver them in a way that's very relatable and authentic, and I just wondered why that was a decision that you made.
I mean, I think to be honest, there's quite a few, but the main point for me was I started out recording my thoughts as an outlet. So I've journaled, meditated, the rest, the full works to try and get out of like different kind of episodes you're going through.
Yeah.
And I went on quite a big spiritual journey, self-development journey. And when I started communicating that with people, it seemed to resonate a lot. And I ended up helping lots of friends, family, even my dad. Like my dad took a new insight or outlook on life because of what I'd shared with him. And it got to the point where one of my friends actually, he said to me that I can deliver information in such a way that's so easy to understand and comprehend, but without making it toxic positive, if you know what I mean. So a lot of people go down that route of toxic positivity, and it's like, just go get and all this really motivating stuff. But I found that when you're in a rut and you can't even think what your name is, you can't have a conversation, and you're really down bad, that's not really what you want to hear.
No, exactly.
So I thought, if I can resonate with people in my own life and get through to people, why not just put it out there and see if I can help someone? And yeah, comments started flowing, people started messaging me, and yeah, it's just been lovely, to be honest. I basically put it out there to help one person. That was the goal. And anything on top of that is a bonus, you know?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a really noble mission to have. And I was listening to something with James Smith recently, who's a PT on social media. And someone asked him, like, how have you achieved such great success? What's your advice for people starting out on social media? And he said that he was obviously a qualified PT, and all the content he was putting out was just to help someone. It was like no bullshit fitness advice that would hopefully get through to just one individual who was struggling. And then clearly he's had this crazy success, but it always starts from a place of wanting to help people. And I think that's really great, and that's also what I'm trying to do with this podcast, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's working. It's working.
We're getting there.
I've got friends and family, to be honest, who have seen it, because of course I've shown people the podcast, and yeah, they're all the same. They think it's a lovely community feel that you're bringing. And yeah, I mean, it's rewarding, isn't it? It's not something that you think, this is what I need to do with my life. It's just, if I can help that one guy or that one girl who's sitting at home really struggling to get out, like even just to make it to the gym. Yeah. And that's what they've been focusing on for months. I just want to get to the gym. I just want to get, and maybe one little thing that you say, they'll go, you know what? That's it.
Yeah.
And out they
definitely.
go.
I'll listen to like 3-hour podcasts and take away 2 things that, but they've also been huge things that have like changed my mindset.
Yeah, massively impactful, isn't it? That's I want to say that's the goal. It is the goal, with, you know, a percentage of what you say getting through to someone. Yeah. And just breaking that barrier of whatever that barrier is in their life that they can't quite visualize and figure out. But yeah, it seems to do quite well for people based on the responses I've got.
Amazing. So let's get into that today then. So I've been having a little stalk of your TikTok, social media, and I've picked out a few topics, things that you've said that I thought we could discuss, have a little chat around.
Please.
Amazing. So the first thing you said I want to talk about is, when you feel lost in life, you shouldn't fight it. Instead, you should push for redirection.
Yeah, so I actually got quite a mixed review on that.
I love reading the comment section.
Yeah,
Can I just
yeah.
add that it's so interesting to hear people's
It is.
perspectives.
Yeah, I know. Because sometimes people, even on a video like that, people are fighting it. People are fighting what you're saying, which, of course, it's understandable. You have to be in a certain frame of mind to hear anything at any point. When you're doubting yourself, for example, someone tells you not to doubt yourself or that you've done great things, you're like,
Yeah.
it needs to come from within. So what I found is when you feel lost, what we tend to do is just fixate on it. Why am I lost? What am I missing? Where am I going wrong? Where do I need to go? Instead of completely embracing the fact that, you know what, I am lost. This is life. It is what it is. And I've found that when I've taken that stance and kind of, I guess, just let it be and let it flow, even if I don't feel like I'm doing great at that moment in time, it works itself out. Because when you're fighting it, you're almost looking for a new route. You're looking for a new hobby that's going to fulfill you. You start thinking about career change. You start thinking about relocating. You start thinking about maybe even material things. And you end up just going down all these different avenues and these tangents that, to be honest, are just going to get you in a downward spiral. And yeah.
Have you had a personal experience of that? Like that feeling of being lost?
Probably more times than I've had hot meals, I think. I had my most recent one was probably, I want to say, leading up to the new year, to be honest. I think we briefly spoke about that, but that pressure of a new year and achieving so much and all these goals, leading up to it, I sort of just got in my head a lot and I started doubting what I'm doing because it's not gradable. It's not something that you can measure success with. So I kind of just started doubting myself and I lost sight of why I was doing it. So I started thinking about the numbers and the followers and the content type and all this stuff. And I didn't act on it, but I just got so wrapped up in my own head. And I thought, I'm just going to drop this. Like, what am I doing? And it lasted a few days. And the minute I stopped thinking about that and just, meditation, running, exercise, journaling, whatever you can do to get it out and just be, it just went away. And like that, I'm telling you, I just thought, well, I know why I'm doing it. It's to help people. Doesn't matter what comes from it. I just want to help one person, like I said. So that's the most recent one, but that's one of many, to be honest with you.
I'm thinking back, I would say that during lockdown was the time I felt the most lost. And I think a lot of people will probably relate to that because everything just stopped. And I'd gone from having a ski season in France as a chalet girl. It was like having the time of my life. And then that got cut short because of COVID. So I was back at home with my mom and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, didn't know where I was going to go to uni. Wasn't even sure if I was going to go to uni. And I really got in my own head, like you said, of just doubting myself so much and like wondering which path I should go down. And so I think that's important for people to know that we've all been there and actually constantly trying to fight it doesn't always help, because I guess if you tell yourself, I'm not good enough or I'm not meant to do this, you then look for evidence that backs it up.
Exactly.
Like you said, with looking at the followers and the likes and whatnot, if we're talking about social media. Whereas if you change your thought, you can then look at positive things.
100%. I mean, lockdown was just massive for everyone. There were people that never understood. So I battled anxiety and depression for years, like really bad, crippling. And people just didn't understand it. A lot of people didn't get it. They just throw quick fixes at you, and little words of reassurance. And it's not what you're looking for. It's not what you need.
Yeah.
And the people that were doing that, the same people after COVID were saying, I'm anxious, like for the first time in my life, this feeling that I don't understand, I've never had to deal with before. And I think it can come in waves anyway. Like you could have someone who's never felt anxious their entire life, get to 35, full breakdown, want a career change, the full lot. And that's why I think embracing these feelings is so important, because you just build up this mental armory. So when it comes again, you're like, I know this one.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be all right. It'll be fine.
What advice would you give to someone, though, to kind of get out a rut?
The only thing I can say is just do the thing. Do the thing that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Because this is coming from me, personal experience. I spend so long trying to figure it out. Why am I feeling like this? What is it? You know, journaling for pages and pages, writing pages and pages and pages, and meditating. But because I'm chasing it and trying to figure it out and overanalyze it, all you do is just end up in a spiral, like a circle of events. It's like a negative feedback loop. You don't stop. So the only thing that ever helps me is just do the thing. The thing that you're thinking about that you want to do right now, just do it.
Yeah.
That's the only, and it's hard when you feel like that, but I think everyone's subconscious knows that's what they need to do, like deep down. But because you're fighting it, it can prove quite difficult.
Yeah, that's something you even said in the video, is when you have those feelings, it's probably because something needs to change and you need to take action on that.
Yeah, exactly.
But people are often too scared to.
It's fear and everything. You know what, Ruby? Everything comes from fear. Like, I was talking about one of my friends before we started. He has, he hasn't claimed it himself, but he's got social anxiety, one of my friends, and you would never expect it. I used to have it really bad, but you'd never expect it. And the way that you can overcome that is do the thing. You have to step out of that comfort zone. You know, the way to not be socially anxious is to put yourself in environments where you're going to feel socially awkward, and you just have to do the thing.
Definitely. Preach it. The next one is worrying about what people think about you is a waste of energy. I really liked this video that you made on TikTok. Just wondered why you decided to put that message out there.
Again, it's most of my videos come from my own internal dialogue.
Notes to self.
Yeah, literally. So there was somebody in my gym that I was concerned about their view of me for 20 minutes. And I just thought, because I have that mental armory now, is something that I've dealt with before. Why do I care? I think they spoke to me funny or looked, sort of was a bit condescending or something like that. And I left and I thought, what a waste of energy that was. What's the point? So it's a case of, you have your ego, everyone's got an ego, and your ego is the thing that gets upset about what people think about you. So if you're, like I said in the video, if you're buying car, if you're aiming down the route of getting a new car, new clothes, going to certain places just for recognition or validation, it's a waste of energy. As well as worrying about what people think about you on the street or how you sound or what you say. I'm not saying it's a quick fix. Like, I still think it sometimes. It's still an intrusive thought. But it's knowing that it doesn't define you. It doesn't define you, and you are you at the end of the day, and that's all you can be, is your authentic self. And if you're not, well, then you're going to go down a spiral of speed bumps down the road. You know what I mean? A few bumps in the road.
Yeah. Mark Manson has a quote that I love, which is, "You'll stop worrying how much people think about you when you realize how seldom they do."
Amen.
And it's just brilliant, because I think we are all the same, and we all assume that everyone's judging us all the time and analysing what we do, but that's so not true, because everybody's focused on themselves far too much.
Exactly. Everyone's wrapped up in their own little bubble, and to be honest, if anyone was to judge you, it doesn't define you. I'll have to dig out a book that I was recommended by someone that I met that studied philosophy, and it's about a man who basically he drives himself mad by overthinking that everyone has a different interpretation of who he is. So what is his identity? Who is he? What's the right one? What is the right identity of him? And there isn't one. Even the one that you think of yourself isn't your identity.
Yeah.
It's just you.
I know, because I think we all go through life playing different roles, whether that's consciously or subconsciously. Like when I'm at uni, I'm playing student. When I'm at
Yeah.
work, I'm playing waitress. When I'm at home, I'm playing
Like a big
daughter
game, like.
or stepsister. And then I'm like, oh, who's Ruby behind all of this?
Yeah, this is it. I mean, I got a funny anecdote about
Yeah.
that, to be honest. When I want to say maybe 18, 19, I realised that, and I realised how different I was at home to when I was out. Not in a good way back then. Not really in a good way, but I was loud. I'd sing, I'd dance, I'd make jokes. When I was out, I'd swear when I was out. And when I'd go home, I was just sort of, stand up, well put together.
Yeah.
Yes, mummy. Yes, I'm going to go to work and get a good job and blah, blah, blah. And there was just one day, I can't remember why. I can't imagine what triggered it. But I went home and I just said, Mum, you don't know me, right? And she was like, obviously heartbroken, but it was the start of saying things that had to be said. And I just said, I'm not like this. Like, I don't like the fact that I'm hiding who I am from you. And to be quite honest with you, since then, our relationship has blossomed. My mum's my best friend. She's my biggest supporter. And
would you say you were trying to be the son you thought she wanted? Is that why you were acting that way?
But yeah, exactly. But I mean, it makes sense, right? Because in life, you go through experiences, you learn for yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And especially about that time, everyone makes a few mistakes along the way. And I made a fair few, and I was just shameful of it, I think. So I didn't want to own it. And I guess when I learnt the mistakes myself, I then decided, you know what, even though I'm still learning, she's got to know.
I love that.
It's not fair. It's not fair on her. It wasn't fair on me. It's not fair on anyone in the family. And I think it also breeds a bit of anxiety in the sense that you're not being true to yourself. You don't even know who you are at that point. Relating back to that book.
Yeah.
It's like, am I the guy at home, or am I the guy when I'm out? Or am I the guy when I'm on my own? Who am I? Like you say, who is Ruby?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's Sam?
Yeah. And I think this idea is really important, and it's not an excuse to just act like a prick towards everybody.
No.
Obviously, you need to, show up as a good person in the world. But if you're constantly consumed by worries about what other people are going to think of you, like you say, it is a waste of energy. And also, I've mentioned this in another podcast, but if you constantly feel like you're having to change yourself for other people, maybe so they like you more, it doesn't work out either way, because if they don't like you, you'll be disappointed. And if they do like you and you form friendships or relationships or whatever, they don't know the authentic you. So you have to show up and you're living a lie. And I just don't think that's a very good way to go about things.
It's so hard to navigate that as well, because I think to a degree, I was like that when I was a little bit younger. And I remember having stupid anxiety whenever I'd go out, like to this point where I was sick, physical symptoms, because it was just like, I don't feel up for putting on a mask, so I need to be me, and I don't know if people like me for me. And it was so difficult to navigate. But I tell you what, since being true to myself, I've had, so many friendships, relationships, and that have all blossomed, and people seem to be warmed to the fact that someone's genuine and authentic. And not that that's what you're doing it for, but you build real relationships.
Yeah, you do.
As opposed to these, fake good time relationships and friendships.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening will have dealt with those feelings of anxiety, whether it's at one end of the scale or the other. And I think we catastrophize everything in our head, obviously, when we're like, what if we go to a party and nobody likes us and I don't get along with anybody? And if that happens, then so be it.
Yeah, but there's a quote, so I can't remember who said it. I think it was a philosopher, that you suffer more in your imagination than in your reality. And it's so true. It's so true. You get yourself so worked up and you get there and you go, huh.
Yeah, I know.
What a waste of energy.
I know. It's never ever as bad as like your brain tells you it will be.
No.
So I want to move on to another topic, slightly different. And we'll see where this one goes. But this, I think, was your most viral video on TikTok.
Yeah.
And you said
I think I
stop.
know what's coming.
You said stop having sex with multiple people. Most people who do this end up hurting themselves or the other person. Can you just expand on this?
Yeah, I mean, it got a fair few good responses, got some positive responses. It definitely got some backlash. It's controversial as expected, but from experience, I just know that again, this is my own testimony, but when you're going down that path, there's only two reasons for it, and it's for validation, or it's an outlet for some sort of trauma or something of the sort. And the main point of that video was really to consider others, because you might be comfortable in your own skin and you might be free to go and sleep with whoever you want or mess around with whoever you want, but you don't realize you're messing around with someone's feelings. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah.
Is we can be true to ourselves, but not at the expense of someone else's feelings. And I don't like labels, but that is what they say a sociopath is. Not that people that sleep with multiple people are sociopaths.
Yeah,
but
no, I understand.
if you're doing something for sort of your own pleasure at the expense of someone else, I just think that is it's not a great way to live, and you'll end up having a lot of, again, my own experience, subconscious guilt, and you just feel horrible. And it's, you can be open and you can communicate, and that's all you can do.
I think that's the key takeaway I had from that message that you shared is you're not going to get everything you think you're going to get from that experience, as in having multiple one-night stands. And maybe some people do, and there's always exceptions to the rule, but I think a lot of people think it will be fun and, I'll feel good about myself if I can sleep with this person. But again, speaking from my own experience, I've then felt empty and a bit shit about myself and confused. And I used to write a blog. I don't know if I've mentioned that on this podcast before. And I wrote a blog post about how we've kind of forgotten about intimacy. And I mean that, I guess, in the emotional and physical sense. And I think it's so great that sex has become less of a taboo and we talk about it. But by doing that, we kind of view it as this physical act, like sex is the end goal. If you go on a date with someone, your mates are probably going to ask, oh, did you shag her? Not how was it? What was she like? Did you get along? Was there an emotional connection?
How was it? And
exactly. And
very surface level,
I think we've kind of forgotten that in this like culture that seems to be hyper focused on sex.
Yeah, because of course the current society is sort of about being you and embracing you and doing what you want, and I'm all for it. But like I said, if you're upsetting people, that's a different story. But I think, like you say, we've lost sight of it. I mean, it's a very deep, intimate, almost, I find it spiritual connection. It's very deep. And I just don't think that should be abused. And again, I think anything for a short, good time, drinking, people do drugs, sex, anything that makes you feel good in that short moment, even self-pleasure gets you only so far. It's like you have a certain feeling afterward, and it's just not good for the mental health. It's not good for the mind.
Yeah.
And you also become, with sex especially, you become so desensitized to the other sex that you, like you say, you just see them as almost a physical body that can give you pleasure.
Yeah.
Rather than a person with feelings and thoughts and emotions.
Exactly. I think that's the key point. Is it's not saying you have to abstain from, casual sex or friends with benefits or whatever. And on the rare occasion that two people are friends, they manage to regularly have sex and not turn it into anything else, then fine. Yeah. But I think it's really important to maybe question why you're doing something, and also how it's going to make you feel and how it's going to make the other person feel.
Yeah, 100%. Because, like I said, I mean, if you're in a state of mind where you can crack on, you can sleep with multiple people, or you can sleep with the same person several times, and you don't see it going anywhere, and you've communicated that, I guarantee you at least one of those two people is not happy with that situation. It's so rare. It can happen, but it's so rare. And it just ends up, spiraling out of control, and people get hurt. And why would you want to hurt anyone? Why would you want to hurt anyone? So I think, like you say, just being aware of it is key. Like, why am I filling my time with this casual sex and sleeping around?
I'm trying to find a good segue, but I can't, so we'll just move on to a different topic. That is feelings are not facts.
Yeah, it's the same as your identity, I suppose. It's a thought, it's a feeling. It doesn't define you. We have feelings come and go, and we're only human. I mean, a lot of the time, well, it is a chemical imbalance, really. If you go down that sort of biology route, it's a chemical imbalance, and the only way to counter that is through spiking, say, dopamine or serotonin or however you want. But they're not factual. They're temporary. Every feeling is temporary. And this is a massive problem, which I faced as well, of people saying, I just want to be happy. Your goal in life is to be happy. And happiness isn't a state of mind, it's a feeling. So happiness will come and go.
Yeah.
But the sort of state of mind where you want to be at is neutral. And I've explained this to some people before, and they're like, "You sure you're not depressed, mate?" And I'm like, "No, it's just they come and go, right?" So I think the way I see it is that you see yourself on a sort of plane, and when you're neutral, you're here. When you feel happy, you sort of lean over here. When you feel sad, you're over there. But you're always centered.
Yeah, and I think with that, being able to get yourself back to neutral is really like putting a car back to neutral. Like you need to know the things that are going to get you there. And I think that can be part of the problem if you're really wrapped up in these emotions of, not feeling good enough and feeling, bad about yourself and feeling down. And how do you get back to neutral?
Yeah, well, this is the thing about embracing life's lessons and anything, that comes towards you, any bit of life's adversity, just taking it full on. And like I said, not fighting it, because you'll end up building an armory or an inventory, a toolbox, whatever metaphor you want to use. And you'll know that when you feel over there, that's what I need to do to knock me back into neutral.
Yeah.
And it's not as much, you don't have as much pressure of figuring it out, I suppose. But then you could go the other way where you try everything, like I've said I've done in the past, where you go through your toolbox and you're like, tick, tick, it's not working. But something will click.
Definitely. And I think I saw a quote on Instagram recently, and it said, don't let your emotions dictate your actions. And you could probably argue for or against that, but I do think sometimes you've just got to, like you say, look in your toolbox, find a few things and just test it out. Like, as you mentioned earlier, going into this new year can make you feel quite anxious and, it's a bit stress inducing. And I felt that because I was so ready and raring to kickstart my new year, but I was just feeling a bit like rubbish, and I was massively overthinking everything, and I had a day full of it. And then in the evening I was like, right, I'm just going to tick a few things off. So I went to the gym, cooked some nice food, tried to journal, just put some thoughts to paper, and I was like, I'm going to switch off from social media, get an early night. And I did wake up feeling a lot better. And that's not always a given, but I think finding a few little things that are going to help you get back to that place of, I feel okay.
And I think even if it's not going to fix you.
No.
Granted, it's a toolbox, but it's not there to fix anything. It can chip away at it, I think, and sort of push you back to neutral. And the more that you do it, there's a great book, The Joys of Compounding, and the more you do it, the more it will compound, and you'll just be on a roll, You'll just constantly be on a roll, and granted, sometimes it's going to slip off, but that's life, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just about managing it, navigating it, and tackling it, really.
Yeah. Linking quite nicely is you made a video. I know you've made a fitness account recently, and you spoke about how exercise is a game changer for the mind. Obviously, we do talk quite a lot about like health and fitness and exercise on this podcast, but it'd be really great if you could sort of explain the link between moving and feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a really bad way probably about a year and a half ago. I was quite overweight. I smoked, I drank and all this kind of stuff, but I went to the gym. So I thought the gym, that counters it all out. Do you know what I mean? I thought it counters it all out. But I realised, and I tried to jog to lose weight. I didn't think it through, and it didn't really get me anywhere. But once I started focusing and dialing into it, I realised that no matter what exercise you do, if you're pushing yourself to be your personal best, granted, you're going to have doubts, but because you have an end goal in sight, you push through it. So you keep pushing through it, and I think that complements coming over life's adversity and all these challenges and all these thoughts, and even just going on a run. Like, I only started running 5 months ago. I've got a marathon booked in April.
Yeah.
And if you told me that I'm going to run a marathon last year, I would have laughed in your face, and I would have told you that you're mad, and there's no way. But now I think, I'll get there. I can do it. It's just doubt. It's doubt, and it's just working toward it, having your goal in line of sight and gradually working toward it. So I've actually become a bit delusional in the fact that I think I could probably do a marathon after this podcast, but there's still some work to do.
No, I know what you mean. It's overcoming those limiting beliefs. And I had a PT on this podcast, and he said something that stuck with me, and he said fitness is the metaphor for your life, because if you can conquer gym anxiety and hit a PB or go for a run and run further than you thought, like, you've managed to do all of those things, so what else have you been telling yourself you can't do?
Exactly. And I don't know if you've ever done long distance runs.
Got a half marathon booked in April.
I've got one.
Just a half.
Comparison's the thief of joy. But it's when you get to certain points in that run, and everyone bangs on about runners high, but no one understands it until you feel it. But there's so much doubt in that run, so much doubt. After 100 meters, you think, oh God, I don't want to do this. And then you think, no, I've got 19 kilometers to go. I should probably sort my stuff out. And you don't want to fail, so you keep pushing, and then you'll have another doubt, 5k, 10k, 15k. And each time you're overcoming that self-doubt, so that just transcends into your toolbox, into the rest of your life. So when you have that feeling of self-doubt, like I was saying earlier, I know this one. I've had this before. We've been here before.
Yeah.
I can get through it and I'll be fine.
I know. I was running this morning, and it was a interval session, and most of my runs so far have just been like easy, and I'm like, this is fine.
Interval's horrible.
Oh my, I was literally like out of breath. I was like, I can do this. I've got this, like 2 more kilometers.
But you feel amazing afterwards.
Yeah, and I realised as well that I'm only recently back into running, but I thought at the end of a run, I'm like, if it went well, I did that. If it went bad, I still did that.
I did that, yeah.
You tick it off either way.
Yeah.
So
in the first gym that I ever went to, first commercial gym, you come down the stairs and it'd say, no workout is a bad workout.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It's facts. I came here, I've exercised more than I would have done if I was at home.
Yeah.
So how can I complain? Maybe I didn't bench 100 kilos this time round, but it's all right. I'm only human. But there's a quote by a philosopher called Carl Jung, and he says the fool or the trickster is the precursor to the savior. So the savior is success, and the fool is sort of like your mindset before you've started the thing. And you have to either embrace, you can take it two ways, but you can embrace the fact that you're new, so you're a fool in that sense, or the fact that you have to be delusional to get what you want. Like I'm saying about the marathon. I could do it after this. I probably couldn't. I could, but I couldn't.
But you don't know until you try, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's the most important thing for people to realise.
You never know until you try. And I think that's the problem as well, is that so many people get wrapped up in the fact that, I might not be able to do that. I can't do that. I can't. And they use this word can't a lot. I don't think there's any can'ts in life. As long as you're physically able and mentally able, there's no can'ts, you know. I mean, like you had your other guest, Jack. I mean, he could have said he can't,
Yeah.
but look at him,
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And it's the same as my dad. Actually, he suffered with like a brain infection a few years back, and it nearly went like terribly wrong. And he was someone I didn't even recognise after. Could barely communicate with him. You know, part of his body was out. He couldn't play the guitar or do any sort of music anymore. And as time's gone on, he's of course faced those doubts constantly, and he's even voiced them. But just with a little bit of reassurance and perseverance, I mean, he's got to a point now where you wouldn't have known.
Really? That's
You wouldn't
amazing.
know. It is incredible.
And do you know what I think is like, with those examples, if they can do it, so can I.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, we're only human. We're all human. We all bleed the same blood. Of course, you get the likes of Bolt. I mean, I don't know if you gave me a few years if I could be up there, but you know, I mean, you can try and you can get as close as you'd like.
Definitely.
Really. I used to have this problem with the gym where I thought, where's the end goal? Like, where is the end goal with this? And I'd always compare myself to like massive bodybuilders. Like when I said I was quite big, like huge bodybuilders and people that can, you know, doing world records. I go, where do I stop? Where do I stop? And I just thought, this is me, this is my life, do it for me, and it will just flow. And that's what it's like now, you know, you go to the gym to enjoy the gym. Maybe have a goal here and there, but
the end goal really is to just keep going.
Until you can't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that's something Alex Hormozy said, like you don't win at business by making loads of money, like you win by keep going with that business. It's the same applies to the gym, as you win by keeping going.
Yeah, I spoke to someone at my run club this morning about that. He's got his own business. It's like TikTok marketing affiliation.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I was like, once you've entered that realm of, I guess, personal development, it doesn't end anywhere. You don't go, right, I've hit 1 million, that's it, I'm done now. It's on to the next one. That's why you see a lot of businessmen, they start up a business. Stephen Bartlett's one of them, start up a business. Yeah, it's doing all right now, on to the next. Start up from scratch. Let's get that dopamine rush. Let's test myself constantly. And it's not, I think people get muddled up with the idea that they're money hungry. It's just, this is what they love. This is what fuels them, is just advancement.
Definitely. Yeah. And that looks different for everyone, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So obviously we're going into, well, we've started a new year. I wondered if you had any advice for people who perhaps want to achieve new goals in 2024. I know you touched on the SMART methodology. So yeah, I wonder if you could talk about that.
I mean, when it comes to goal setting, I'm just a strong believer in start small.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, I'm sure you're the same as me. You went into the new year with these massive goals, which is fine. You know, it's great to be ambitious, but you lose sight of what's in between. And you can't, like if I said, I really want to be an astronaut by the end of the year, so it's not going to happen. I need to, by the end of the year, I'd have to maybe do a certain study or whatever the path is, but start small. Focus on the next step. If you go to the gym, you only go once a week, I want to go twice a week. Reassess in a month's time. It's the same thing. It doesn't define you. Your goals don't define you. It's just the next step. My goal at one point was to go out for coffee on my own because of the crippling social anxiety. I want to go out for coffee on my own. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't understand why anyone would go out on their own. I thought it's just so nerve-wracking. And I went out for coffee on my own and it was horrific. I hated every second of it. But then I've done it again and again and again. And then by that point, I'm travelling around Asia on my own. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like
it's
compounding.
amazing.
And I guess you gradually get to the point where something that you never would have envisioned just becomes your next goal.
Yeah, it's something I've been seeing a lot of mixed messaging around, and I've probably spent too much time on social media, but some people are saying, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And I'm like, right, I need to make big goals then. And then other people are saying, oh, making goals is stupid. You should just focus on daily habits. And I'm like, oh, okay, what do I do? Like, I think there's somewhere in between. There's like a sweet spot where you maybe
100%.
have ambitions and you have plans, but you need to break those things down, like you say, into small, achievable, everyday things. Like, we've both got running goals in mind. You don't just run it in one day. Like, you do the training leading up to it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, someone that my partner who I'm doing the marathon with, we were both quite daunted by the idea of 26 miles.
Yeah.
And because I haven't even run half of that. And I just said, each week we'll build it up. That's why you do it. Obviously you're conditioning yourself, but you're building up to it, to the point where it's like, it's only another 5k on what I've done. It'll be hard, but a 10k is hard. A 5k is hard, but you believe in yourself a lot more. But it's all about little baby steps is what I like to call it. I like to give life's adversity and these sort of tough trials and tribulations cute little names like toolbox and baby steps.
Yeah, definitely.
But baby steps, like start small. That's all I can.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
And as well, when we set these goals, we forget the context that will like arise. Like, there might be a day where you can't make it to the gym, or you can't go for that run because something happens. Like, you don't ever anticipate for those little hurdles that are going to come up, but if you can, jump over them.
Come back to neutral and jump over.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with smoking, isn't it? A lot of people that want to put down, or drinking, a lot of people that want to put down the drink or stop smoking or give up a bad habit, they just go cold turkey. And it works for some people, but baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Baby steps. Like, if you're going out every single weekend, go out every other week, and maybe don't have 10 pints. I'm talking to 18-year-old me.
Yeah.
But just start small, and that's what helped me. I mean, my good habits, my positive habits, all come from making my bed. I just thought, I can't remember what it was. I think it might have even been David Goggins. It was just like, that's what the military teach you, is to make your bed every morning. That's your first task of the day done. And since then, it was like, I made my bed, right, what's next? As opposed to getting up, oh my God, I need to create a business now. That crazy thought. But so I make my bed, and then, just building a little ritual, and then it all compounds, and you get so much more done in a day. And I think you appreciate how much time we have. And so they say time is limited, but when you're actually doing these tasks and completing these tasks, you think, do you know what, I've got a lot done today.
Definitely. And with all those things, regardless of what your goals are, if you can aim a few decisions at a better today, then those things start to compound until, you'll look back in a year's time and you'll be remarkably different to the person that you were.
And it's so hard to give ourselves the recognition we deserve now in the moment. But the thing that's always helped me is reflecting. And it was probably about 6 months ago, I remember writing in my journal. I started writing about younger me and what younger me would want. And I drew a picture of younger me and me holding hands, like walking down the road. And I thought, you know what? He'd be proud. He'd be so proud to say that's who you've become. Like, tackled everything. You've got through it. Even if you don't think you're in a good spot, if you reflect on that point, you think, you know what? I've been through a lot. And it's all relative to each individual, but everyone's been through shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just about navigating, I think, appreciating it too.
Yeah, definitely. I've got 2 more questions for you. So obviously you share a lot of important lessons with people on social media, and you've been kind enough to share them with me today, but what is something you're still struggling with or dealing with?
Easy. Self-doubt. Not being good enough always crops up. But that toolbox has to get picked out, and I run for it all the time, honestly. Probably, once a month or something. And I think I'm starting to accept the fact that it's just something that's always going to be there. And I think everyone faces that. but it's just about staying strong and building up your armory, your toolbox, so you can navigate through it.
Yeah.
But it's something I don't think it could ever go, because for me, and it's something that a lot of people don't really like talking about, is that life is tough. You know, we don't know why we're here. I don't want to get too spiritual, but we don't know why we're here, and everyone seems to want to find a purpose, right? And when you can't find that purpose, you think, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And it's all me, me, me. So I think unless you have faith in, say, religion or something like that, we're always going to find that we're not good enough.
I get that so much, and something I've been toying with is, how do you maintain that self-belief when you haven't quite got the evidence to back it up yet? Do you know what I mean? Like, I could say I want to be this successful podcaster, but nothing proves that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm on the way there, but you
then,
can't see too far into the future, can you?
Because success is relative.
Yeah.
When are you ever going to be fulfilled with that? And it's about, I think, again, becoming still. This coach that I'd met in Thailand told me that I need to find my stillness. And I thought, what are you talking about? And it just stuck with me. It's like, be still.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the now and just be. And of course, as long as these things that you want to achieve are on your radar for you, you'll be all right. But if you're going, I really want 100k followers, I really want to get 6 figures in my bank account. But why?
Yeah, definitely.
For what? Just, it's like an accolade. Granted, it's an accolade. It's a nice accolade to have. I wouldn't deny 6 figures in my bank account, but it's just, it's kind of meaningless.
Yeah,
in a sense.
I get that. And I think one last thing with the self-doubt feeling is something that's really reframed it for me is Alex Hormozy said, when you are doubting yourself and you're worrying that something's not going to work out, that's where most people stop. And that's why you're going to keep pushing forward. And I have to remind myself of that constantly, because everybody who's been successful in my eyes has also dealt with those feelings of insufficiency and, you know, doubting themselves, but they pushed through it, and that's how they've got to where they are.
Yeah, and I mean, it boils down to the same thing that we were talking about earlier. I mean, success is relative. Like, if it wasn't for social media, I'm a self-made life coach that balances a 9 to 5, that runs marathons. Without social media, if I told someone that, they'd be like, you're a mental case. But because of social media, it's like, yeah, but that guy's running 100k every day. So it all boils down to comparison, right? And I don't know if you've ever seen, I think it's a psychological study. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it's about your knowledge against your, so it's seen as a graph, but it's about your knowledge against your confidence. So as your knowledge progresses, when you first start maybe getting the views or learning about running, you think, this is easy, and your confidence in it spikes. And then you get to a point where you think, you know what, there's actually a lot more to know.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you realise you don't know.
Exactly. My mum told me that for the first time. Beautiful quote.
Yeah.
And it spikes, it drops all the way back down. And that's when, that sort of rut is when a lot of people give up. Is because they think, oh my God, okay, like I can do this. And then they stop. But the more that you pursue it and the more knowledge that you build, gradually you'll become more and more confident. And that's what I found with coaching. It's so, like I say, self-made. I just one day identified as a life coach because I've been doing it. Yeah, and I was told, this is what you are. I was like, nah. So I started labeling.
Claim it, yeah.
Yeah, claiming it. And when it first started, I thought, what the hell am I doing? I'm just a guy. I can't help people. And as I stuck to, and I doubted myself so much, but as I stuck to it, you know, you reap the rewards. And it's not anything I can put out there and show anyone or put on social media, but, you know, it's responses and reviews and updates from people's lives is really rewarding. Definitely. And as the time's gone on, I've got to a point where I think I'm not arrogant, but I'm confident in what I can do for people and how I can help people. And there is also a point of questioning whether you're arrogant or not. And I think that's also quite difficult to navigate. But
Yeah.
I think everyone is going to have a point of arrogance when they're doing well. And it's like a conflict of, am I good enough for this? Yes, I am. Am I good enough, like daily, constantly? And I guess you have to be arrogant for the self-doubt to diminish.
Disappear a little bit. Exactly. So the last thing to wrap this episode up that I ask everybody is, if you had to give a piece of advice or a quote or a mantra to help people achieve their personal best, what would it be?
I was going to say about the baby steps,
Yeah.
the stepping stone, but I actually have a quote from Nelson Mandela. And he said, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear." And the Bible also says, worry is nothing but fear. And that is what the majority of all problems come around, is fear.
Yeah.
I think we just have to learn to embrace that.
I love that. And that's something I've heard someone say, is you can't fake bravery, because if you did the thing but you were scared to do it, then
That's
you were brave. That's
Yeah.
being brave. And you're so right that having that courage, it doesn't mean that you aren't scared. It means you do it anyway.
Exactly. And that's what makes the brave man or
Yeah.
woman. But it's about embracing that. As if I'm so scared of heights, right? And I have done all sorts of what are these things called?
Bungee jump?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Skydive?
Oh, where you go across a...
Bridge?
I know what I'm talking about. When you...
A zip line.
Zip line,
wire.
that's it. A zip
Yeah.
wire. Like that. I've done loads of them, Go Ape and all the lot. And I'm so scared when I'm doing it, or when I'm about to do it. And then I just have to be in the moment and embrace it. And then after, I'm like, that was brave.
Yeah.
And it's just a like, nice little win.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for today. I feel like we've spoken about some really important topics that I hope are going to help people as they go into the 2024. Where can people go if they want to find you, check out what you're doing online?
On TikTok, I go by SJ Helps. That's SJHELPS. And I have just started up an Instagram account, samhands_fit, which is documenting my marathon journey that we obviously believe in. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure.
It's been amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and all the best.